Hello, everyone, and thank you. I am so happy to be here with you on Faith and Mental Health. My name is Helen Hicks. I'm a licensed professional counselor, an author, a podcaster, and a mother of five. So today, my presentation is entitled Smart Goals Parenting. Okay, so let's jump right into this because I know we only have a limited amount of time. So let's switch this up. What are our objectives for today? So, one is for you to understand the two SMART goals of parenting, why they are the goals, and what to expect when you focus on fulfilling these goals while parenting. Two, to know how to earn your child's respect. And three, to eliminate power struggles from parenting and other adult child relationships. So, here are your two SMART goals. One is for the parent to become the child's respected figure, or I like to say authority figure, but I know that term is a little touchy for some people. But I do interchange both of those words, and it still means the same thing, respected figure or authority figure. So, that's the first goal for you as the parent to become your child's respected figure. Two is for your child to learn how to make good choices. So, if you think about this, who we are in any given moment is a reflection of the choices we have made up until then. So, if you're able to teach your child how to make good choices, then you are giving your child the best possible start any parent could hope for. So, in order for you to become your child's respected figure, you have to be able to fulfill the duties of a parent. And the duties of a parent are to protect, provide, and guide. All right. So I'm going to break this down just a little bit and I'll get a lot deeper into this as we kind of move along. But protect. So I think you can grasp that on the surface level of okay, make sure nothing outside is hurting your child. um, that also means other people within your home. That means, people who may be in the neighborhood, and it also means protecting your child from him or herself. So in that aspect is where it really goes deeper into what you're allowing your child to do, or the things you may even do to pacify your child because you want your child to stop tantruming. You want the yelling and the pouting and the arguing and all that kind of stuff to stop. So, in order to get it to stop, you allow your child to do something or to have something that may not be best for them. So, if we roll that back, part of protecting as a parent is to be able to hold that line and to reinforce if something isn't safe or potentially good for your child, you still need to protect them from it. So, like the very biggest example that comes to my mind in this moment is social media. Like my two youngest are 14 and 17 at this time, and they just got YouTube on their phones last year. Um, and they still do not have Instagram. They do not have Snapchat. They do not have TikTok. They do not have Facebook. Like any of those things, they do not have them because as a parent, I see it as my duty to protect them from things that are potentially harmful for them. So, next is provide. So, again, this seems really simple on a surface level. Like you make sure your child has food, shelter, and clothing. And then you're also making sure that you're taking care of the bills. And a level of this protection and providing together is that if you, the parent, are struggling financially to pay the bills and to get certain things, you still have a duty to your child to protect them from the stress and the worries of what provision can be made. So your child doesn't need to be a part of every single discussion of what you have, what you don't have, when you're going to have it, why you don't have it. Like your child doesn't need to be a part of all those discussions. That's still a part of providing and also protecting your child from that information. So, since we're on this topic, real quick, just a quick sidebar. When parents introduce their children into those topics of not having enough money, not being able to do this, not being able to do that. And while there is a balance of transparency there, of being honest with your children and not trying to sugarcoat particular situations, you have to be very, very careful because children of a certain age will then take on the responsibility to not be an additional stress and burden to you, the parent, and then they will look outside of the home for ways to provide for themselves and maybe provide for others in the home. You don't want this to a certain degree because it now severs that parent child connection that you're trying to build. Like your child is not going to respect you if your child sees you as someone incapable of meeting their needs. So that's what I'm really hitting at. It's again, the goal of the parent is to become the respected figure. Your child is not going to respect you if your child sees that you cannot take care of their needs. So I know there's a balancing act here to do because life is expensive right now. And there's a lot of push and pull. And I know there's a lot of weight on you parents, but it comes back to I really want you to guard the information that you're sharing with your children. They do not need to be privy to every bump in the road. So, another quick example, recently I moved across the country from New Jersey to California. And the first, 8 months of that move was really, really rough financially. And when we finally got over the hurdle, I was kind of like with my boys, whew, oh gosh, we made it. And one of them was like, I had no idea that we were in jeopardy of not making it. And to me, I interpreted that as I did my job. I protected them from that information that things were really kind of dicey. And there were some days I really wasn't sure of how we were going to make it to the next day or the next week. So that is an example of what I'm talking about in terms of combining protect and provide as a parent so that you earn your child's respect. The last one is guide. And guidance is not only just about you telling your child right from wrong, but it's also about disciplining. So that means there has to be an interactive, you know, um, exchange that takes between the two of you in terms of your child does something that is inappropriate or undesired, and you need to act in a certain way to redirect that undesired behavior, which may require the use of rewards and consequences. So I have a whole thing in regards to simplifying discipline, and I think we'll get into a little bit of it later. But just to come back, your first goal of parenting is to become your child's respected figure. In order to become the respected figure, you need to protect, provide, and guide. Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit into the theoretical pieces of this. So, what happens when you protect, provide, and guide? So, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a really, really, really important theoretical piece. So, if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's a triangle or a pyramid, however you want to look at it. And the first level is at the bottom, so it's the widest. So, I tend to look at this in terms of the wider these levels are, the more people who are likely in that level. And the higher up you go and that triangle gets more narrow, there are fewer people who reach up to the top of the triangle than there are at the bottom of it. So, 5 levels of needs that Maslow theorized every human on this planet has in common, has nothing to do with ethnicity, gender, or anything else. So, that first level is food, clothing, and shelter. We all have a need for food, clothing, and shelter. The second one is safety, and that's physical and emotional safety. And I will tell you this, emotional safety is the most common compromised level of need. And I think it's because most people do not have a clear understanding of what emotional safety is, how to create it, or how to maintain it. So, food, clothing, and shelter, food, clothing, and shelter, physical and emotional safety. The next level is where you begin to form friendships because this is about gaining a sense of belonging and love. So please note, building relationships is on the third level, and food, clothing, and shelter, physical and emotional safety come before that. So if emotional safety is the most compromised need here, then I want you to imagine how many people are genuinely forming connections if emotional safety is constantly being compromised? And the answer is they're not. Here's where I will see a lot of parents focused on becoming their child's friend and unknowingly compromising emotional safety. And then once that child gets to a certain age, the parent is in shock that the child no longer wants to be around them or spend time with them. The child is off doing their own thing because the parent's thinking, oh my gosh, I thought we were such good friends. Why aren't we this? Why aren't we that? Why are these arguments happening? Why is this separation happening? Because that wasn't a genuine connection. I'm not saying you didn't have a connection at all, but it wasn't the type of connection that can survive turmoil, and it can survive that headbutting and rebellion that teenagers often go through because somewhere along the line, emotional safety got compromised. Okay. The fourth level in this pyramid is where we then start to internalize what's been happening around us. So, those connections that we've been making in the third level, now it's time where we take those connections and we turn them internally and we build self worth, self esteem, self confidence, all the self whatevers. That's where they begin to form in level 4. And level 5 is self actualization. So, as I said, the higher up you go, the fewer the people that are in that particular category. And also, we can fluctuate throughout these levels at any given time. So you could make it all the way up to being self actualized, but then if something happens and now you do not have a place to stay, you go all the way back to level 1. So, understanding this is very, very important when you're considering building those lifelong positive and healthy connections with your children. Because, like I said, most people get stuck on level 3, which is emotional safety. Okay. So, but when you are able to protect, provide, and guide, and do this in accordance with Maslow's hierarchy of needs and really focusing in on that emotional safety, what you will see in your child, there will be a reduction of anxiety. It also allows your child to master their environment. So, what do I mean by that? So, what I mean is, so let's say if you give your child a task, and this is the first time your child has ever done that task. Let's say making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And the first time your child does this, there's going to be a mess. There might be holes in the bread. You got peanut butter and jelly on the floor and the counters, and like it's just everywhere. But the more your child does this, the more consistency there is with the process of spreading the peanut butter and the jelly, of being able to control the knife, like all these other working pieces, the more your child can practice this consistently, and then your child is going to build up mastery of how to make that peanut butter and jelly sandwich with the limited amount of mess, and maybe even no mess at all besides crumbs of the bread, because that happens. Um, but that's what I mean. When you are protecting, providing, and guiding, you are also being consistent. And consistency is the number one thing that I teach everyone in every situation. And it's especially important in parenting because it's not just about you, it is about your child. When a child grows up in a consistent and predictable environment, it reduces anxiety, it allows them to master certain tasks, which is mastering interactions, mastering self care, mastering taking care of household duties. And that builds self confidence and self worth, which is absolutely what you want as a parent. The last thing this does is it builds trust. So, again, going back to that protect and provide, where they can like tag team and double up on you, and making sure that you are not inviting your child into conversations that maybe they shouldn't be a part of, that goes into building trust. Then your child trusts that you are capable of protecting them. Your child trusts that you are capable of providing for them. Your child trusts you're capable of guiding them. So your child is trusting your decision making process, and therefore allows you to parent. And this is the part where power struggles are now eliminated, because there's only a power struggle when a person believes they can do something better than you. And once someone believes they can do something better than you, the power struggle ensues for control of whatever that is. So when it comes to parenting and you're butting heads with your kids, there's arguments, there's the push pull, do this, don't do that, and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. All of it's because something has broken down in the protect, provide, and guide process, that your child does not trust you to be able to do those things. So when you're able to do them, you build trust, you eliminate the power struggles, and your child lets you parent. So, as I kind of was getting into, is the secret in eliminating the power struggles and building a child with great self esteem, and a child who is willing to follow your guidance. It's all in how you protect, provide, and guide. And these things are really, really, really important. So I've already kind of hit on some examples of that. Just let me look a little bit further. All right. Oh, we're almost done. So I want to come back to the guide portion. So I told you before that I have a very simple way of doing discipline. So it's called CCRR. And actually, let me change this a little. Okay. So my approach to simplifying discipline is CCRR, and that stands for choice, consequence, reward, reinforce. Okay. So kind of brings us to the next slide is choices and not demands. Okay. Sorry, that is a little skewed with the wording, but that is starting off the key to all of this. This is not about you constantly demanding that your child do certain things and not do certain things. Now, if it's a safety issue, I'm all for you do whatever is necessary to keep everyone safe in that moment. So, yes, if it's a safety issue, you may demand someone stop, go, don't, whatever it may be. But outside of a safety issue, I really want you to focus on providing a choice. And what this should look like is, hey, you can keep doing what you're doing and there'll be a consequence, or they can engage in the desired behavior at that time. Okay. So that you need to be specific and tell your child what that behavior is. So if your child is currently having a tantrum on the floor, it's like, okay, you can keep having a tantrum, but then there's going to be a consequence because that's an inappropriate way to communicate your need. Or you can stand up and you can take some deep breaths to help calm yourself down and tell me what is it you need in this moment. Okay, so you're providing a choice. You now have to allow your child to choose. Now, I understand some kids are really skilled and they may try to drag this out and start a negotiation process and go around the bush and back around the corner. And by the time they finish, you're confused at what you're talking about. Like, we're not going there. We're not doing that. 2-minute time limit. And your child needs to make a choice based on the choices that you provided. Okay. If your child does not make a choice at the end of that 2 minutes, that means you choose, which means it's a double whammy for the kids, which means they need to engage in the desired behavior. But because they didn't choose it, they don't get the reward. They still get a consequence. So this is a double whammy for kids if they do not choose. Now, whatever choice they make, it is their choice. You need to allow them to make the choice. Your job is not to control their choice. Your job is to reinforce what happens after they make the choice. Because this now goes back into that second goal of parenting is that children learn how to make good choices. And good choices are guided by the consequences and the rewards that are associated with them. So, if your child chooses to continue the tantrum on the floor, this is not the time to lecture. This is not the time to lose your cool because, hey, that's emotional safety. If your child feels like there is not room for their emotions and you're going to yell and scream and you're going to have your own adult tantrum because they're having their child tantrum, that is not emotionally safe. And already you are taking yourself out of that respected figure place, and things are just going to get harder. And your child is going to continue to fight you for power and control because they do not believe that you can provide them their needs. So allow them to have their feelings, but you still need to guide this because I, for one, I I don't do tantrums well. Not that I lose my cool, but I'm just not a parent that allows them to happen. I'm immediately redirecting, okay, this is a more appropriate way to address whatever's going on. So, one of the things that I'm famous for saying is use your words. You need to talk rather than show me. Okay. So, your child has up to 2 minutes. You don't have to wait 2 minutes. If your child is able to make that choice within the first 30 seconds, cool, move with it. Your job is to reinforce whether it's a consequence or a reward. There's no lecturing, there's no I told you so's, there's none of that. You reinforce, let it be. After the consequence and the reward has been fulfilled, if there is a need for you to explain, something about that interaction, you explain it after it's been fulfilled. Because again, how you do this is very, very important. And if you deter away from the process of reinforcing behavior, then you've lost it. Whatever you think you're reinforcing, you're no longer reinforcing because too much time has passed. So, just a reminder, CCRR, very quick way to guide through discipline, which is choices, consequences, rewards, reinforce. Save the lecture for another time, and it gives you time to think about what is really necessary for you to say. Okay? So, I've given you a lot in a little bit of time. I'm really kind of rushing through this to stay within my time limit. But thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Faith and Mental Health, for inviting me to be here. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with everyone and to share this information with you. I definitely have more information available for you at my website. HelenVHicksCounseling.com. I have an online parenting course. I have a parenting book that you can also access. If you decide to join my parenting course, then there is also a booklet of my book. So my book is roughly about 200 pages long. However you may feel about that. I try to give you as much detail and examples as possible without overdoing it. But the booklet really kind of focuses on the journal exercises. It focuses on handouts, things that you can print out and you can utilize within your home, different things of that nature. So the parenting course does come with the booklet. And if you choose to get the book, it is on Amazon. And it's called The Parenting Treatment Plan. You can also find me on YouTube. I have lots of videos that I have posted and information that you can access for free at What Would Helen Say 1969. No, that is not my year of birth. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Helen Hicks. Once again, thank you so much for being here. I have enjoyed presenting this information to you, and I hope to hear from you in the future. And happy parenting.